Part 37. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 361. Father, he seems to have entered a place with higher authority in Lulan. The judgment angel's face became a little solemn. Lu Shu nodded. That passage was guarded by 2 Lulan commanders. According to the information obtained by the Judgment Angel, if one passes through that passage, it is the highest level control center in Lulan. Even the Lulan commanders, you can only be a gatekeeper there. If you want to get permission to enter there, unless you get the identity of Lulan archaeologist. Lu Shu walked over there, planning to give it a try first. When he walked to in front of Commander Lulan, the 2 men immediately raised their spears and shouted angrily. This place is the centerpiece of Lulan. Anyone who doesn't care should get out of here quickly. Lu Shu took out the command token and said, I am leading my subordinates. I noticed that something might happen in Lulan, so I patrolled here and there. The 2 Lulan commanders looked at each other and continued then, please lead your subordinates to check around here. What this sentence means is that you can't go in. Even if there may be some abnormal situation. Lulan's control center cannot be entered by General Lulan casually. The Judgment Angel showed a somewhat disappointed look. It seems that we can only go back temporarily. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly, and he continued to mark the location of Old Man Su here. However, when he got here, Old Man Su's movements suddenly slowed down. This is the spiritual imprint left by Lu Shu. It worked. According to the structure of Lulan's illusion, he made the maze of the realm of reincarnation to look like the outside of Lulan. Old Man Su seemed to be heading towards the target location. However, he started spinning in circles. In this way, he could the incident that delayed Old Man Su from completing his target mission. Let's buy Lu Shu more time. Return to the location of the bookstore. Lu Shu stopped at the door, then knocked on the door. Boom. 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 A squeak. The door is opened. The person who came out was the former Lulan archaeologist. General, do you have anything to do with your excellency? He looked at Lu Shu with doubtful eyes. Generally speaking, there is no overlap between Lulan generals and Lulan archaeologists. In addition, Lulan archaeologists also have the ability to think independently. Lu Shu's move made he felt confused for a while. He couldn't figure it out. Old-timer, while exploring recently, I discovered something bad. In order not to affect the order of Lulan, this matter was not announced. This time, in addition to confirming that there is nothing unusual about Lulan, I also want to see my senior and answer my doubts. Lu Shu said with a humble attitude. The general is humble. The Lulan archaeologist suddenly smiled, seeming to be very satisfied with Lu Shu's attitude, and then said, since you are here, I will go and have a look with you. Thank you, senior. Lu Shu smiled. On the road of walking, the Judgment Angel couldn't help but curiously transmitted the message, Father, how did you convince the Lulan archaeologist so quickly? In her eyes, Lu Shu simply made an invitation. Lulan archaeologists, you actually agreed? Is it that simple? Haven't you noticed the hidden pattern here? Previously, when I called a soldier to take over my duties, the other party will appear very happy. Therefore, I guess Lulan also has a setting for human behavior. That is, every Lulan person will sacrifice his glorious life for Lulan as his mission. They are also quite proud in their hearts. If they are recognized by others, or can perform the duty of protecting Lulan, then they will usually behave very actively. This setting was actually designed by Lulan to simulate normal human behavior. But this is only a very one-sided imitation of human beings, but it ignores that many people have deep inner thoughts. Therefore, if you use this to convince these people in Lulan, you can use the rules skillfully and use less words to create conditions. Hearing this, the Judgment Angel was already in admiration. That Lilin warrior just now was so active. The Judgment Angel didn't see the rules and profound levels inside, and just thought it was all natural. After all, that Lilin warrior, the soldier, said these words from the heart. There is nothing false. Therefore, the Judgment Angel's ability to see through illusions did not find any clues. But Lu Shu's thinking was based on the design of Lilin divine realm. From the perspective of Ding, we explored what kind of activity patterns the people here have. Therefore, we thought of the blind spots that the Angel of Judgment could not consider. Even the top divine tree master may not be able to think of this right away. While chatting, unknowingly, in front of the field of vision, a collapsed ruins and the towering city wall appeared. That's right. This is the place where Lu Shu killed several Lilin warriors. General, I wonder if there is anything special here. The Lilin archaeologist looked around everything and asked in confusion. Seniors, please take a look. Lu Shu dug out all the corpses that had been buried before. They were the Lilin warriors he had killed before. This is the corpse of our soldier. The Lilin archaeologist's pupils shrank instantly. He looked at Lu Shu and asked seriously. General, when were these bodies discovered? Lu Shu said, just when I was patrolling yesterday. Could it be that? Is there an intruder in our Lilin? The Lilin archaeologist took a deep breath, his eyes full of worry. General, please check how these Lilin soldiers died. Lu Shu's tone was very sincere, which made the Lilin archaeologist feel that there was nothing unusual. He immediately squatted down and began to explore the corpses back and forth with doubtful eyes. At this moment, a sharp sword penetrated the hearts of Lilin archaeologists. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 362. The Lilin archaeologist turned around in horror and looked at Lu Shu, his eyes filled with disbelief. Turn out to be. You are the intruder in Lilin. Haha, I should have thought of it earlier, I should have thought of it earlier. The Lilin archaeologist said a few words intermittently, and wanted to overdraw his life breath to maintain his life. I'm almost dying, yet I still talk so much. Lu Shu shook his head and continued to pierce several swords towards the Lilin archaeologists. Use the power of the Shadow Kill Dao mark. The Zuxian sword can wipe out the vitality of the Lilin archaeologists. Coupled with the power of the divine sword itself, if he is directly hitting the vital point, even a semi-saint level expert can't maintain much life. What's more, the Lilin archaeologist is not a warrior, his ability is extremely powerful spiritual power, and he can summon matching power through the gaps in history. But compared with other Lilin warriors, his own defense power can be said to be relatively weak. After being assassinated by the Zuxian sword, Shadow Kill Dao Wen continued to destroy the vitality of his body, and the sword spirit also invaded the Lilin archaeological site. In the scholar's sea of consciousness, his mental power was suppressed. He cooperated with the Angel of Judgment and used the judgment technique at the side. After struggling for a few minutes, the Lilin archaeologist completely died and lost his life. At the same time, Lua prompt also popped up in front of the tree. You killed the Lilin archaeologist. Get Lilin Scholar's Robe X1. Get Lilin Scholar's Book X1. Obtain Lilin Scholar's Staff X1. Get the legendary skill book Historical Gap Summon X1. Do you want to learn this skill book and unlock new skills? Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly as skill book was revealed. The rewards for the Lilin archaeologist were much richer than he had imagined. Yes. Lu Shu immediately chose to study. Ding. You have unlocked a new skill, Historical Gaps. Historical Gap, you can summon the corresponding historical power from the history you study. It can be a character or a weapon that existed in the past. The power you can summon is determined by your personality, mental strength, and detailed understanding of history. The duration is the same as above. What a powerful skill book. Lu Shu's eyes moved for a moment. Wait. If this skill can summon the historical figures he knows from the gaps in history, then, if it summons the Emperor of the Ages, what will happen? Woolen cloth? Judgment, you take this token. Lu Shu handed the Lulan general's token to the Angel of Judgment. As long as you hold this token, you can be upgraded from a Lulan warrior to a Lulan general. As for Lu Shu himself, he changed into the costume of a Lulan archaeologist, and he held the book in his hands. Since the skill book had been learned by himself, therefore, it would be safer for Lu Shu to complete the role of Lulan archaeologist himself. The Judgment Angel nodded and placed Lord Lulan. I took the token and turned from a Lulan warrior to a general on one side of my waist. Let's go there now, there should be no problem. Lu Shu and Judgment Angel walked towards the central tower again. We came to the stairwell we visited before again. The two Lulan warriors saw Lu Shu and Judgment Angel again. They frowned in unison, and were about to speak to stop him. At this moment, his eyes suddenly focused on Lu Shu. His expression suddenly became startled and he said, "Sir Scholar, why are you here?" I had a chat with the general. I sensed that something was indeed wrong with the recent situation in Shenzhen. Therefore, I plan to follow him and go to the central tower to see the situation. I dare to ask you, who is in favor and who is against? Lu Shu showed the majesty of an old scholar. This sentence can be said to put Lulan's safety first. If something goes wrong, will these two Lulan generals be responsible? The two of them met again. He glanced at it and showed a slightly embarrassed look. However, the words of Lulan archaeologists will play a key role when Lulan is about to face a crisis. His authority is even higher than that of Lulan generals. He cannot bear this responsibility. And not as powerful as the other party. But there is no obvious abnormal situation in Lulan now. If Lord Lulan is just investigating such a small matter, it would be too much to make a fuss. Although General Lulan's status is slightly higher, but not so exaggerated as to invite Lord Lulan. "General, sir, please." The two Lulan generals had no choice but to move out of the way. Finally, Lu Shu and Judgment Angel arrived at the third level here. There are very few people around Lulan. Whether they are soldiers or generals, they rarely appear here. What lies before you is a deep and dark corridor. There are various murals carved around the corridor. Father, these murals seem to hide some kind of divine power. You must be careful. The Judgment Angel frowned and warned from the side. Lu Shu nodded. In fact, Judgment doesn't need to say more. He has already sensed that this mural is not that simple. It seems like a divine beast that has been sleeping for many years, hibernating among these scrolls, waiting to come out at any time. There is absolutely no way Lulan is as simple as just warriors and commanders. If there are only these characters, it would be too easy to deal with. It is impossible for an emperor to have such a grand plan through the ages. The core is exposed in such a flawless place. There must be enough backups. Behind these murals, it's like entering another world. Lu Shu used his mental power to sense the murals around him and frowned slightly. These murals contain terrible power. The Judgment Angel seemed to want to see the origin of these murals. However, after trying hard, she found that she could only see the tip of the iceberg, but could not get a glimpse of the whole picture. Walking forward again, Old Man Su appeared in front of him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 363. Father, Old Man Su has appeared. The Judgment Angel's eyes lit up instantly and he looked at Old Man Su and said. After struggling for so long in Lulan, he finally met Old Man Su again. After all, Old Man Su was the one who opened the phantom sound box. If we lose him, if so, Lu Shu will lose his second chance to enter the world of the Phantom Sound Box. Now, he has found Old Man Su again. Even if he goes out from here and comes in again, he will have one more chance to explore. Don't worry, let's see what Old Man Su wants to do first. Lu Shu's eyes moved, and then he unlocked the illusion on Old Man Su. With the two of them here watching. If Old Man Su does anything abnormal, he can immediately be locked into Lu Shu's realm of reincarnation. But it's completely being locked up is not a good thing. This guy came to the Mirage again, and his behavior was quite suspicious. Moreover, Old Man Su's consciousness still has not recovered, and he just relied on his instinct to carry out unfinished things in the Mirage. If this is followed, keep exploring for clues, maybe you can find something different. Unlocking the realm of reincarnation. Old Man Su finally stopped standing still. Quickly moved in a certain direction. Follow me. Lu Shu's eyes moved and he said. Old Su walked quickly. At this moment, he came to the office of Lord Samsara. There was a bronze door standing in front of him. Outside the door, there was a chain containing infinite divine power. God's lock. The moment the Judgment Angel saw the chain, he showed an extremely horrified look. Judgment, what is the origin of this chain? Lu Shu immediately noticed the reaction shown by the Judgment Angel. Just from the name, he could tell how extraordinary this chain was. The Judgment Angel took a deep breath, and then said, legend has it that among the top 10 in the God's domain, among the artifacts, the lock of God ranks among them. There is something very unique about this lock. The higher the divinity, the stronger the binding power of the chain. If this lock appeared in the mortal world, it would be just an ordinary lock. But when it appears in the God's domain, the lock is specifically used to restrain the gods. No matter what kind of god it is, as long as it has divinity, it will be firmly restricted by the God's lock. Lu Shu was slightly shocked after hearing this. The stronger the divine power, the stronger the binding force. If you can get this chain in your hands, wouldn't it be specially used to lock gods? However, with our current status, it is simply impossible to obtain the lock of God. The Judgment Angel smiled bitterly. Although the divine lock is specially designed to lock gods. However, if ordinary mortals think that they can obtain this chain, then it is wishful thinking. Divine objects are divine objects after all. But for any divine weapon, only by refining oneself can one gain the authority to use it. Mortal creatures don't even have enough personality, let alone whether it can be refined. If one rashly pours spiritual power into it, I'm afraid it will be wiped out by the backlash in minutes. Lu Shu also felt a little pity. It would be great if I could get the God's lock. At this time, Old Man Su actually walked towards the God's lock. Lu Shu's eyes suddenly moved. Etc. What is this guy going to do? Could it be? The next second, Old Man Su touched the top of the God's lock with his hands. Click. The chain instantly collapsed and broke. It's actually open. The Judgment Angel was completely dumbfounded. He showed a dumbfounded look. How is this possible? Isn't the God's lock one of the top 10 artifacts in the God's domain? With just such a light touch, it was actually unlocked. Everything that appeared in front of him had already been. It is completely beyond the common sense of the Judgment Angel. Even those eyes that can break through all the illusions in the world can't help but rub it at this moment, not believing whether the scene in front of them is real. Tip: the lock of God is restricted by the power of the abyss and temporarily loses the power of divinity. Duration: 1 second. The moment Lu Shu saw this text, his figure had turned into an afterimage and came to the front of the divine lock. The opportunity only lasted for such a short second. If some people miss it, they will miss it for the rest of their lives. If some people grasp it, they will benefit from it throughout their lives. The moment he saw the prompt, Lu Shu's reaction ability even exceeded his lifetime limit. This is the moment when his brain is clearest. Even a long time in the future. Whenever he thinks back to the past, Lu Shu will be grateful for this moment. He made such a decisive choice. A teleportation array appeared just below the teleportation array. At Lu Shu's speed, it would take less than a second to cross this distance. All the actions were completed in just a split second. He concentrated his mental power with great concentration, and carved a teleportation array on the ground where the god's lock fell. Snap! The god's lock fell to the ground and made a sound. Buzz! Immediately afterwards, a beam of teleported light covered the lock of God. Teleport! Lu Shu took a deep breath. The next second, with the teleportation light curtain, it descended on the god's lock. After being touched by Old Man Su, the god's lock was infected by the abyss and temporarily lost its power. In a burst of white light, in the middle, it disappeared in place. Boom! Accompanied by this thunderous sound. As the god's lock was completely unlocked, the bronze door leading to Lord Lulan's office was also opened. Warn! You have opened the door to Lord Lulan's office. Lord Lulan will be here in 10 minutes. Sacred Tree Island. Lu Shu's true self is practicing carefully. A breeze blew by, and the Sacred Tree Island remained extremely harmonious. However, Lu Shu felt a little uneasy. I don't know what happened to the clone in the gray world. The next second, a curtain of light appeared from the teleportation array. Lu Shu's true self immediately opened his eyes and stared. The white light quietly dissipated. The divine lock appeared in front of Lu Shu. The TNG array on the ground started to operate instantly. The next second, the mythical buildings around the island, combined with the ancient stone tablets, all burst out with a burst of transcendent divine power, heading towards the god's lock to suppress it. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 364. Boom! There was a roaring sound. Endless divine power collided on Lu Shu's Sacred Tree Island. The lock of God burst out with a burst of transcendent divine power, wanting to confront the divinity here. The stronger the divinity, the stronger the power the chain can display. However, the TNG formation unified all the mythical buildings and divine power. This is Lu Shu's island. Even the power of the divine lock has to be weakened a bit. So what if you become strong when you are strong? In Lu Shu's island, even gods will be suppressed and killed. The ancient stone tablet once again bloomed with a suppressive power. The erosion of time has turned into an eternal and eternal breath. A force of heaven that transcends divinity is completely suppressing the lock of God. Ripples burst out in the void. The confrontation between divine powers plunged Lu Shu's island into a period of turmoil. The surrounding Pikachu and little white foxes were eating, but suddenly they felt a terrifying aftershock of divine power, stirring up the surroundings. They were so scared that the food in their mouths almost dropped. Lu Shu's voice instantly came to my ears. The little white fox immediately led all his teammates into the void crack to avoid harm. You am I, pay attention to possession and be ready to restore teammates at any time. Don't come out without my order. Lu Shu's words were much more serious than before. The little white fox did not dare to neglect and immediately opened the cracks in the void. Pikachu turned into streaks of lightning and led other teammates into the cracks in the void one after another. Emperor Blue Hidden Dragon, the body was much larger. At this time, Uami also possessed the little white fox and helped them open the crack wider to accommodate the huge body of the Emperor's Blue Hidden Dragon. Soon, all of them, the pet army, had all hid in the gaps in the void. Lu Shu took a long breath and said, "It should be okay now. With the confrontation of divine power, any mortal world is just a piece of dust. Just touching a trace of power is likely to be at risk of falling. Therefore, allowing the pet army to enter the gap in the void at the first time can maximize the avoiding risks to a certain extent." However, Lu Shu soon discovered that mythical creatures such as the Wutong Phoenix, the Moon Rabbit, and the Enlightenment crane stood on the sacred tree, watching the confrontation between the divine lock and the mythical building. Lu Shu thought, I wanted to ask these guys to evacuate, but then I thought about it. The status of mythical creatures seems to be no lower than the lock of God. These guys stood on the sacred tree and differentiated a divine power to protect the sacred tree. Will not be harmed. Have a heart. Lu Shu looked at the scene and his heart moved slightly. The mythical creatures also have feelings for their own sacred tree. At this moment, they are also contributing their own strength to defend everything on the sacred tree island. Boom! Boom! A roaring sound continued to echo throughout the sacred tree island. After a while, finally, the sound gradually slowed down. The divine lock was finally unable to resist the mythical architecture of the sacred tree island, and gradually subsided. Down. Tip: the lock of God has sealed the divine nature, and it can now be refined into a magic weapon. Magic weapon. Lu Shu's eyes moved instantly. The lock of God, that is one of the top 10 artifacts in God's domain. How could he be refined into a magical weapon by himself? Next, Lu Shu put his own spiritual power into the lock of God. Buzz buzz. The Tianji array began to operate. With the help of the entire divine tree island, Lu Shu began to refine the divine lock. Still needs some process. Lu Shu secretly thought in his heart. Now, the lock of God slowly began to form a connection with Lu Shu's true identity. The origin of the world tree has differentiated into streams of pure power and is slowly refining the divine lock. It's a pity that my current cultivation level is still a little behind. Although the origin of the world tree is refined. However, due to insufficient cultivation, it would be a bit difficult to control items from the real divine realm. Lu Shu checked the refining progress of the God's lock and found that it was slower than he thought. He couldn't help but sigh to himself. The God's lock, as one of the top 10 artifacts in the God's domain, has too much divinity. Not to mention the current Lu Shu. Even some of the true immortals in the heavenly palace would find it extremely difficult to control this treasure. If Lu Shu didn't own the sacred tree island, and there is a mysterious secret in it, arrays, various mythical buildings, and the help of ancient stone tablets, whether the lock of God can be successfully controlled is probably still unknown. At this moment, several prompts popped up in front of Lu Shu's eyes. Ding! You have obtained primary Hedeo fruit X1. Ding! You have obtained the Hedeo exercise fruit X1. Ding! You got the Hedeo Deo fruit X1. Finally come. Lu Shu's eyes suddenly lit up. After exploring the mirage for so many days, the next product of the sacred tree finally arrived as scheduled. As long as you plant these Hedeo fruits, you will harvest 100 Hedeo fruits. After being synthesized into a high-level Hedeo fruit, it should be able to help me complete Hedeo in an instant and step into the realm of Hedeo. In addition, the Hedeo Deo fruit seems to be a fruit related to the origin of the Deo. It may also have an unexpected key effect on my world tree and the refining God's lock. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. The next second, he buried all 3 fruits in the soil. The 3 spiritual tree fruits, under the blessing of 100 times increase, instantly rose from the ground and grew out. The sacred tree differentiates into a pure force of nature, nourishing the surrounding subspecies of spiritual trees, allowing them to thrive. In just half a day. Ding! Your primary Hedeo fruit has reached the production cycle, get primary Hedeo fruit X100. Ding! Your Hedeo exercise fruit has reached the production cycle, get Hedeo exercise fruit X100. Ding! Your Hedeo Deo fruit has reached the production cycle, get Hedeo Deo fruit X100. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 365. It's time to step into the realm of Hedeo. Lu Shu took a deep breath. He first ate a fruit of enlightenment. Soon, Lu Shu had entered the state of enlightenment. The so-called Hedeo realm is to combine all the avenues that he has understood before. Integrated. Of course, it does not mean that to step into this realm, you must merge all 9 different Tao patterns. In fact, if you just step into the Hedeo realm, one Tao pattern will already enough. Theoretically speaking, if you have 3 different Deo patterns, you can perform the perfect He Deo. But Lu Shu now has 7 Deo patterns. This progress is terrifying. If he is captured by the immortals in the heavenly palace, the body knows it. I'm afraid it will be a surprise. Soon, Lu Shu entered the state of enlightenment. In this state, the various Tao rhymes flowing in his heart became particularly clear, like the sunlight reflected by the frozen lake in winter. In this state, Lu Shu has enough confidence in this combination. Sit down cross-legged, calm down and concentrate. Adjust your breath a little and enter a breakthrough state. Wait until everything is ready. Synthesis. Lu Shu's mind moved slightly. 100 elementary Hedeo fruits were fused into 10 intermediate Hedeo fruits. The 10 intermediate Hedeo fruits were merged into one high-level Hedeo fruit. However, this high-level Hedeo fruit, the Tao Yun contained in the fruit, is 1,000 times more than that of the primary Hedeo fruit. Such terrifying power of Tao Yun. As long as Lu Shu swallows one, he can directly cross from the realm of returning to the void to the Hedeo realm. The next second, holding the high-grade Hedeo fruit in his hand, he gently put it into his mouth, and took a bite. The majestic energy instantly turned into countless surging oceans, flowing from the meridians in Lu Shu's body into the Danshan and suspended in it. That side of the world. In another space. Blue sky. White clouds. Grassland. On a harmonious and quiet island, the original world tree condensed by Lu Shu is suspended quietly in the center. Exudes a white and mysterious light. This scene seems to have been static for 1,000 years. Like an eternal picture scroll. On this day, boom. Thunder suddenly echoed in the sky. A heavy downpour suddenly fell from the sky, washing this world of green grass. Ding. The world tree absorbs the rainwater from Hedeo, and its origin is Ad 10. Ding. The world tree absorbs the rainwater from Hedeo, and its origin is Ad 10. Lu Shu transferred his mind to the small world he condensed, and was surprised to find the world tree planted in the center suddenly grew vigorously. From the original sapling, it has now become a big tree. At the same time, Lu Shu felt this original power and became more transcendent. Boom. Along with the roaring sound, the borders around the island are expanding. Just as the area of the sacred tree island expanded and the edges of the gray world began to spread outward, the surrounding area of the island was originally a dark world. But at this moment, with the world tree as the center, the islands in Lu Shu began to grow and became bigger than before. If we say, before, the area of the condensed world was such a small island. Now, the area of Lu Shu's island is no less than that of a human city. The total amount of spiritual energy that can be condensed here is the original power contained in the world tree, and it has been doubled several times. Good. Lu Shu nodded suddenly, with a look of excitement in his eyes. The world tree has finally grown. It has grown from a small sapling to a big tree. At this time, the panel properties have also changed. World tree. Stage, first level. Original divine power, 10,000, demigod. Authority, none. Heavenly Deo, none. The panel properties have changed. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. After entering the Hedeo realm, the small world tree grew into a world tree, and the values in various aspects also changed. Among them, the most obvious one is the addition of original divine power. The original divine power is the real divine power. Superimposing this divine power on any skill, including my immortal killing sword, domain, or the 7 Deo marks, can release even more terrifying power. The realm of God transcends the mortal world, and for ordinary creatures, it will be a dimension-reducing blow. Although the original divine power I have condensed now is only at the level of a demigod, if I encounter a true god from the heavenly palace, I will still be able to fight. Lu Shu's eyes showed excitement. This time, his clone was in Lulan, and it can be said that he received an extremely generous reward. However, the clone is now cut off from contact and cannot release the corresponding divine power for the time being. As for the teleportation array in Lulan, due to the restrictions of the rules of the divine domain, it can only be teleported back to Lu Shu's island, but cannot be teleported from the island. If you want to go in again, you can only use Old Man Su to activate the Phantom Sound Treasure again. Box. Boom. At this moment, Lu Shu has successfully broken through to the Hedeo realm. The third level of Hedeo. Lu Shu took a deep breath. This breakthrough turned out to be directly from the realm of returning to the void to the third level of Hedeo. Among them, Lu Shu's small world tree grew into a world tree, and its own the 7 types of Deo patterns have been perfectly combined, coupled with various accumulated factors, so they have gained such strong strength in a short period of time. The sacred tree has also begun to condense the next round of new fruit products. A new panel pops up in front of you. Sacred tree. Stage, Advanced Sacred Tree. Sunshine, 2510/day, 25.1x100. Spiritual Energy, 2040/day, 20.4x100. Subspecies Spiritual Tree Remaining Capacity, 15, Total 17. Products, Blood Succession Limit Fruit, Dharma God Template Fruit, Holy Growth Fruit. Production Cycle, 10 days, 20,000/2000. Growth Points, 905,200, 41.4x100 equals 6640/day. Next stage, Divine Tree, 2000000 growth points. Next. Lu Shu also has Hedeo Technique Fruit and Hedeo Deo Fruit that he has not yet swallowed. Get a skill first. Soon, Lu Shu set his sights on the fruits of the technique. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting Trees for All, 3 consecutive SSS level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 366. A thought came to my mind. In Lu Shu's hand, he held a Hedeo skill fruit. Put it in your mouth and bite lightly. While the effect of the enlightenment fruit is still there, a large amount of information about Hedeo Kung Fu was all integrated into Lu Shu's mind, and it was completely integrated in just 1 second. This is the power of the fruit. Get abilities in seconds. Combined with the fruit of enlightenment, the proficiency level is already maxed out. Now, in Lu Shu's mind, there was an additional name called the Secret Book of 3 Purities of Taoism. This Taoist method actually returns itself to nature. 3 living things correspond to 3 different deities. If you succeed in cultivating this skill to its peak. So, I will successfully condense 3 deities. Now, it's Lu Shu's turn to be surprised. 3 clones are understandable, but 3 different deities, wouldn't it be confusing? The strength of each deity is interoperable, different from the clone. The clone is after it dissipates, it cannot be condensed again. However, if the original deity dies, it will also affect other deities. If you want to synthesize it again, you will need to pay a certain price. If I could fuse 3 deities, then you can make 9 clones. Moreover, the strength of each deity is interoperable but the same. It will not be the same as the clone. It needs to be condensed again to synchronize the strength. If I practice the 3 pure clones, it will be equivalent to tripling my strength. Adding the clones, it will be equivalent to about 9 times increasing my strength in the gray world. Lu Shu's heart suddenly moved. For others, splitting the deity into 3 may not be that useful. but Lu Shu's clone technique can inherit 100% of the power. If 3 deities are created, then, there are 9 clones. The strength is not just multiplied by 3 times, but multiplied by 9 times. Since the main body will encounter danger in the gray world, wouldn't it be enough to just send the clones in? 1 No, let's have 2. As for the 3 original deities, they all stay in the sacred tree island to guard their homes. It seems boring, and they can also fight the landlord together. If you add a clone, you can have a table of mahjong. Ahem, these are all it's a joke. In fact, the most important thing is that when the clone of San King is promoted to an immortal god and transcends tribulation, the success rate can be greatly improved. According to legend, San King is the immortal king in the heavenly palace. His strength is almost at the level of reaching the pinnacle of heaven. Being able to practice the immortal king's Taoist techniques in the Hedeo realm will also have endless benefits for future breakthroughs. Thinking of this, Lu Shu's mind suddenly moved. The next second, his clone instantly divided into 3. 3 identical Lu Shu appeared on the sacred tree island. Refining. With the thought, the 3 Lu Shus were refining the God's Lock at the same time. God's Lock refining progress, 50%. The progress instantly became much faster. Not long ago, after refining for a long time, the progress of the God's Lock was still stuck at 10%, and it was difficult to make new progress. But after reaching the 3rd level of Hedeo, he practiced the 3 purities of Taoism. The divinity in Lu Shu's body has become more powerful. And the 3 separate deities directly increased the efficiency 3 times. In this state, refining will naturally be faster. Every hour, 1% can be refined. This speed is pretty good. Lu Shu thought in his mind. The refining speed of the God's Lock will become slower the further you go. After all, as an item from the God's domain, it is not that easy to obtain. But at this rate, it will not be easy. It doesn't take long to get one of the top 10 artifacts in the God realm, the Lock of God. With the 3rd level of Hedeo, the Taoism of the 3 purities, the immortal killing sword, and the demigod power of the world tree, plus this Lock of God, Lu Shu has the absolute capital to challenge the messengers in the heavenly palace. At this level, he is not much different from a real immortal. If he successfully breaks through the realm of transcending tribulation, at that time, Lu Shu's strength it will reach an unimaginable state. Little white fox, Pikachu. You can come out now. Lu Shu transmitted the message. I almost forgot, these guys are still hiding in the cracks in the void. Now, the battle between the Lock of God and the island of the God tree is over. The island has returned to its former calmness. It's time get these little guys out. Pick up. The pet army immediately chirped excitedly and retreated from the crack in the void. However, when their eyes fell on Lu Shu, they found that it was only a matter of time to enter and exit. Why? Are there 2 more Lu Shu? Those pairs of small eyes were full of doubts. Staring at the 3 Lu Shu, countless question marks suddenly appeared in the minds of these little guys. So, in the end, which one is the real Lu Shu? Correct. There is still Hedeo Deo fruit left. I don't know what effect it will have if I swallow this fruit. This thought suddenly appeared in Lu Shu's mind. The next second, a Hedeo Deo fruit appeared in Lu Shu's hand. The pure white Tao fruit contains mysterious power. It's like there's a universe hidden inside. Just by smelling this aroma, my consciousness soared instantly. I have to say, this is an amazing experience. Lu Shu hesitated and put a Hedeo Deo fruit into his mouth. For sure. The Hedeo Deo fruit is the same as the enlightenment fruit. They are both quite rare fruits. I don't know what the difference is between them. Anyway, there are still 100 Hedeo Deo fruits in the warehouse. Swallow one first and see how it works. The next second, Lu Shu picked up a fruit, put it into his mouth, and bit it in one bite. You swallowed the Hedeo Tao fruit and achieved the state of Tao unity. The effect lasts for half an hour. The next second, the panel of World Tree has changed. Original divine power, 100,000, True God. Instantly reached the realm of True God. At that moment, Lu Shu felt that his strength instantly surpassed the mortal world. The lock of God made a trembling sound, the progress jumped to 100%, and it was completely integrated with the world tree in the body. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 367. Ding. You have successfully refined the God's Lock. God's Lock, an artifact that locks God, a prop used by the true God. It is a derivative of Heaven's Lock, specially used to lock gods. The higher the opponent's divinity, the stronger the effect of the divine lock will be. When the divine lock merged with Lu Shu's world tree, among the divine attributes, there was also a special attribute. Seal up. Lu Shu's eyes lit up and he said, the lock of God actually added the sealing attribute to my divine power. If this attribute is used to deal with real gods, the effect will be very good. Fortunately, my world tree has reached the first level, and I have the strength of a demigod after all. Otherwise, it would really be impossible to integrate such powerful attributes. Successfully refining the God's Lock is not just as simple as adding a top 10 artifact. Lu Shu's divine power has also gained an attribute that is specially designed to seal gods. This attribute is essentially in conflict with divine power. Yes. But Lu Shu has merged his own world. If it merges with the original power of the world tree, the attributes of Feng will not be as high as the original. Therefore, Lu Shu can still control it. It is also because the Hedeo Deo fruit can temporarily unite all my current Deo into one, and reach the realm of True God. It can be said. This is a True God experience card. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly, and he realized that the Hedeo Deo fruit has an extraordinary effect. The difference between a demigod and a true god, no matter what, is still quite big. Take the lock of the refining god as an example. If it is a demigod, then it is simply impossible to integrate the attributes of Feng. Even if the refining can be completed, Lu Shu has temporarily obtained the right to use the God's Lock, but cannot truly master this attribute. However, swallowed the Hedeo Deo fruit. Lu Shu's divine power was temporarily elevated to the realm of a true god, freeing up enough ability to integrate the attributes of the God's Lock into his own world tree. These are two completely different states. If it is to overcome the tribulation, swallowing the Deo fruit can also greatly increase the success rate. Unexpectedly, this Hedeo Deo fruit turned out to be an experience card for the true God realm. Although it's only half an hour. However, I have nearly 100. Lu Shu couldn't help but smile. Now, even if a true God comes to fight, Lu Shu can still kill him. With the power of this Deo fruit, his strength has been upgraded to a true God, and he can naturally crush gods of the same realm. God. Combined with the magic weapons such as the lock and the immortal killing sword, most gods may not have the wealth and foundation of Lu Shu. Next, let's see how my clone does in Lulan. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. Although he has upgraded to the Hedeo realm. However, the clone at this moment will not synchronize his strength. In other words, the clone of Lu Shu who currently enters Lulan still needs to rely on the strength to return to the void has passed the test of the divine realm in Lulan. In the dark, Lu Shu felt that if he entered Lulan this time, he was afraid that he would have a real causal relationship with the divine realm. This is the level of strength that has been raised to the corresponding level. Finally, the feeling generated. The intuition of the true God often represents the destiny after cause and effect. Gray world. A stream of light has traveled through hundreds of coordinates in a short period of time. Rush in the direction of 100,343. It is the goddess who appeared in the Holy Land before. Along the way, She also saw many sacred tree masters who came to the Grey World, and she frowned slightly. That era seems to have come again. However, these people are not worthy of attention. They are just a group of mortals. There is no need for me to take action. Strange. Where is the cause and effect I perceive? The goddess's willow eyebrows were slightly frowned, with a thoughtful look on her face. At this moment, a wave of fluctuation suddenly attracted the goddess's attention. That's where it is. The goddess's eyes suddenly became a little deeper, and she murmured to herself, if it were there, what would happen next would be much more interesting. Her figure was flying faster than before. Many divine tree masters who were exploring the Grey World saw a stream of light flashing across the horizon. At this time, in the forum, divine tree masters had mentioned it from time to time. The meteor that appears in the Grey World. Have you noticed that a meteor flew past recently, so fast? Yes, yes, I observed it at coordinates 111, 166. Damn it, is it so far? I observed this meteor at 111,233, almost on the same day. It has crossed so many coordinates in such a short time. What kind of meteor is this? Is it too fast? I'm more curious about whether this shooting star can make a wish. Upstairs, why don't you ask if you can eat it? The discussion in the forum attracted the attention of a guild. Star Pavilion. Speaking of shooting stars, isn't it the astromancer of the Star Pavilion who cares most about the stars? However, at this moment, Yusuanji's brows suddenly frowned. Meteor? It's strange, why didn't I sense this meteor? What's the sense? If it was really a meteor, shouldn't it be the astromancer who was the first to sense it? Yusuanji had a vague feeling that the abnormal phenomena occurring in the Grey World were definitely not as simple as meteors. On a floating island. A flash of white light flashed in Mu Tingfeng's eyes, and his aura became deep and mysterious. The next second, she vomited blood again and again. Damn it! Mu Tingfeng was so angry that she almost wanted to curse. Why did you vomit blood again? It was just a divination of the origin of a star. As for vomiting blood, why are there secrets everywhere? Mu Tingfeng always felt that he had a divination at a certain time after a certain person. The luck of vomiting blood seems to have never stopped. Lulan. With a roar, the bronze door finally opened. Lord Lulan's office at the back is not a room, but a channel, composed of golden light gates. A reminder appeared in front of Lu Shu. The gate of God's realm, the door leading to a certain space in God's realm. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 368. The gate to the divine realm, is actually hidden in Lord Lulan's office? Lu Shu's eyes were suddenly startled. He immediately realized that this passage was definitely not that simple. Who would have thought that there would be a passage to the divine realm hidden in the mirage of the eternal emperor? Father, I feel that the core of the mirage is in this passage. The judgment angel opened his eyes and said. You mean? The core of the mirage is in this divine realm. Lu Shu was not only speechless. Isn't the handiwork of an emperor through the ages too amazing? It turns out that the core of the mirage is not in the phantom sound box, nor in Lulan, but in the divine realm behind this passage. It can be said to be a step up. Another layer of insurance. The mirage is just a ship built by one emperor through the ages. If it were the Xianyang Palace and a Fang Palace back then, how big would it be? It is simply unimaginable. Lu Shu said seriously. Judgment, we still have 10 minutes, Lord Lulan is coming. Now, you return to the sacred tree island first. I'll go inside the passage first to find out. The angel of judgment was stunned when she heard this. According to her intention, she still wanted to stay with Lu Shu. But thinking about the levels behind the god's domain, there were many crises. Lu Shu had only a clone left here. Even if he died, there won't be any big problems. If he were here, his strength was low, and if he was coerced by the enemy, Lu Shu would be restrained. Good. Thinking of this, the Judgment Angel no longer refused. He stepped into the teleporter, and as a light curtain descended, the Judgment Angel left here. Although he lost a soldier in the team, Lu Shu still has the ability to prompt the system. Even if when you arrive in the God's domain, you can respond promptly to any dangerous situations. Next, it's you. Lu Shu took a deep breath and looked at Old Man Su. He showed a somewhat complicated expression. If this guy recovers his memory of the past, I'm afraid it will become an unsolvable trouble. Fortunately, everything is still under control. The realm of reincarnation. Lu Shu immediately summoned a whirlpool of reincarnation. Old Man Su rushed towards the passage of the light door like a crazy zombie. It's like there's some treasure hidden there. Instinct drove Old Man Su's body, which should have died long ago, to rush towards the light door without hesitation. However, at this moment, a powerful pulling force instantly enveloped Old Man Su's whole body. Squeak! A harsh and unpleasant sound came out of Old Man Su's mouth. Like a drowning monkey, his limbs swayed wildly, trying to break free from the shackles of the whirlpool of reincarnation. But his strength was too weak. The whirlpool easily fell away, his entire body was swept away. The next second, Old Man Su's figure fell into a teleportation array. I can't let you go yet. Lu Shu said coldly. A teleportation screen flashed. Old Man Su was also sent back to the Sacred Tree Island. Next, all the problems have basically been cleared up. Next to the giant bronze door, only Lu Shu, a figure, alone, faces the light door leading to the divine realm. Remaining time for the arrival of the Lord of Reincarnation, 8 minutes. Time has become urgent. The reincarnation archaeologist already has the strength of a semi-saint. If the Lord comes, then he will be a saint-level powerhouse at the very least. Maybe even a demigod or even a god. The clone of Lu Shu has not yet synchronized the strength of the original body, and can at most launch a holy level attack. He must enter inside within a limited time and explore the location of the core of the mirage. There is no time for extra thinking. Lu Shu stepped into the light gate. The gate across the divine realm. A brand new world opened before Lu Shu's eyes. He opened his eyes slightly, a world composed of golden sea of clouds was revealed in front of him. God's domain subspace. Coordinates, none. Risk factor, none. Description: this is a special space opened up from the world of God's domain using divine power to store the God's items. Item: Mirage Core. Subspace. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. In other words, this is not the real God's domain, but it leads to the subspace opened up from the God's domain. The handiwork of one emperor through the ages is just too great. Use the magic weapon of the gods to connect Lilin. Then use Lilin to protect the passage to the divine realm. Behind the passage, a world of subspace has opened up, which does nothing and is specially used to store the Mirage Core. He really is the eternal emperor of the Grey World. If he wasn't so heroic, how could he have done something like this? Compared with the previous emperor Cao, the difference is simply a world of difference. Tip: 1,000 meters ahead, the core of the mirage. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. The next second, his body teleported in an instant. The space in the God's realm seems to be much thicker than that in the Grey realm. When using the shadow killing pattern to move, the speed is much slower than in the Grey realm or Lilin. Although it is just a sub-world, but this place was created using the real divine domain after all. It is fundamentally different from Lilin's passage connecting the divine realm to the mortal world. Before, a pure white heart is suspended. Thump. Thump. This heart, suspended in the center of the golden sea of clouds, seems to be alive and still beating. Heart of Mirage, according to legend, this is the heart of an ancient mythical creature. It is the core refined from the heart. As the core of the Mirage, it can navigate all sea areas and has extremely high divine authority. Tip: at this moment, the Mirage heart is in an ownerless state. Do you want to refine it immediately? It turns out to be a state of ownerlessness. Lu Shu's eyes suddenly lit up. No wonder old man Su is so eager to enter here. Since the fall of the Eternal Emperor, no one has really obtained the Mirage. Naturally, old man Su also wants to obtain the real Mirage, but it seems that for some reason the reason is that he went completely crazy and lost this ability. Now, it has given Lu Shu a chance. Taking a deep breath, Lu Shu said in his heart. Refining. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 369. The core of the Mirage is being refined. 1%. 2%. 3%. Lu Shu frowned slightly. The speed of refining seems not as fast as I thought. If this progress continues, then I'm afraid we will have to wait until Lord Lulan comes here. Think of this. Lu Shu stimulates the origin of World Tree. Refining add 1. Refining add 1. Prompts kept popping up in front of my eyes. The original power was activated. However, the progress of refining is still not particularly ideal. Lu Shu secretly said it seems that this battle is inevitable. Open the panel. The remaining time until Lord Lulan arrives, 3 minutes. However, Lu Shu's refining progress has only reached 20%. Time is too slow. I sighed helplessly. The Zuxian sword behind Lu Shu suddenly made a trembling sound. Sword Soul, when the enemy comes, please help me resist for a while. Lu Shu said in a deep voice. Sword Soul nodded immediately. Don't worry, Sword Master, I will definitely live up to your mission. Outside Lulan. A figure suddenly arrived here. His gaze swept across the entire Lulan, and his expression changed. During the time I left, there was an intruder in Lulan. This huge spiritual consciousness instantly covered the entire Lulan. Lu Shu killed Lulan archaeologists and some of the leading soldiers, although he was able to hide most of Lulan's existence. But in the eyes of Lord Lulan, everything seems to be invisible. Snored. I want to see who is so brave. How dare you break into my Lulan? Lord Lulan snorted coldly. The next second, his figure turned into a stream of light and escaped into the direction of the central tower. When the nearby Lulan warriors saw Lord Lulan's arrival, they all knelt down. See Lord. Lord Lulan glanced sharply at everyone present and ordered. There has been an intruder here. You and others quickly deploy an encirclement formation and blockade the entire Lulan. Without my permission, no one is allowed to enter or leave Lulan at will. Hearing these words, all the Lulan soldiers stood up instantly. There was a look of horror in their eyes. There was an intruder in Lulan? When did this happen? The Lulan generals standing in front of the team were even more shocked. His face turned pale. They are the main force responsible for maintaining order in Lulan. If anything goes wrong, they will definitely be held fully responsible. We will defend Lulan to the death. Please follow the Lord's instructions. All the Lulan generals did not dare to neglect. They immediately mobilized their subordinate soldiers and surrounded the center. Suddenly, the whole Lulan was filled with a chilling atmosphere. Inside was the central tower. It was surrounded by dark warriors. Even Lulan's border has set up a dragnet. Not even a mosquito can easily enter and exit Lulan. Lord Lulan didn't look satisfied with this, and a killing intent gradually emerged in his eyes. He snorted coldly with a sound. He took a step forward and entered the central tower instantly. Gray world, coordinates, 100, 300. A stream of light appeared on the other side of the sky. When we arrived at this place, there were basically not many people around. Even the strongest divine tree masters rarely come to such a place. That's right. The streamer who appeared here was the goddess who appeared from the Holy Land before. Huh. The passage to the divine realm has been opened. I should be the only one who has come to this mortal world recently. Who is it? Open the door to the divine realm. And, it's still the same place. The figure of the goddess suddenly stopped and was suspended in mid-air. On her pretty face, the pupils suddenly burst out with a divine light, seeming to be looking at a place dozens of coordinates away. The corners of her mouth suddenly raised slightly, revealing an interesting aspect. Sure enough, what I expected was right. There is indeed something wrong with that ship. Tisk tisk. Unexpected, unexpected. The great emperor fell for such a long time, and these backup men who remained in the mortal world, after so many years, actually caused trouble again. Okay. I have always wanted to know where the boat is, and now I have found it. It is time to take back all the things that do not belong to the mortal world. The next second, the goddess turned into a stream of light, and her flying speed was a few minutes faster than before. If nothing happens, it won't take much time for her to arrive at the area where the mirage is. Above the sea. Is it too late after all? Lu Shu suddenly sighed softly. There were only 0 minutes and 0 seconds left in the countdown. But the refining progress had slowed down when it reached 35%. Boom. Suddenly, the light gates there was a violent noise from the other side. A figure appeared here. Lord Lilin. At this moment, the most powerful enemy in Lilin finally appeared. His eyes fell on Lu Shu. Lord Lilin's pupils flashed instantly shrank. The next second, he killed Lu Shu without any explanation. Die. There was an angry shout, and Lord Lilin was so powerful that he burst out with holy level strength. At that moment, the whole world was filled with a feeling of shock. The nearby golden sea of clouds received a powerful force, which caused a violent the ground heaved. The storm swept towards Lu Shu at full speed. A black and monstrous demonic hand, like the palm of a god and demon, instantly enlarged to a few feet away, like a mountain, it fell towards Lu Shu. Boom! At this moment, a burst of sword light was as bright as day, slashing towards the ink-black mountain. The white-red light and the ink-black clouds collided, making an extremely violent sound. The Zuxian sword was suspended in the air, a stream of Lingyuan suggestions burst out. The sword soul stared sharply at the visitor, not giving Lord Lilin any chance to get close to Lu Shu. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 370. The sword soul stared sharply at the visitor, not giving Lord Lilin any chance to get close to Lu Shu. Lord Lilin took a few steps back slightly and looked at the sword soul with surprised eyes. His expression became solemn. Interesting. He actually condensed an original level sword soul, and his strength actually reached an otherworldly level. However, your strength is too weak, you are only a half-saint. How could a semi-saint have such attainments in swordsmanship? Lord Lilin raised his brows slightly, and looked at Lu Shu with a little more confusion. At this moment, Lu Shu turned his head and looked at Lord Lilin. A panel appeared in front of his eyes. Lilin Lord. Category, Heavenly Palace Gatekeeper. Danger Factor, Holy Level. Perception Range, Lilin. Power, 57,300. Speed, 55,250. Defense, 54,420. Skills, Lilin Amplification, Lilin Fighting Will, Heavenly Palace Divine Power, Mental Coercion, 4 Symbol Laws, Lilin Domain. Description: every Lord of Lilin is a saint-level powerhouse in the Heavenly Palace. They control the power of laws and are entrusted by the heavenly palace with the task of guarding Lulin, guarding the entrance. If they were within Lulin, their strength would be able to resist the true God and possess incomparable power. The janitor. Lu Shu glanced at the pop-up panel in front of him, and his expression moved slightly. Fortunately, this is not Lulin, but a small world opened up in the God's domain. If we are fighting the Lulin Lord here, then the Lulin growth, Lulin domain, and Lulin domain that the opponent relies on most will Lulin's fighting spirit cannot be used for the time being. If these three skills are added to the full explosion, Lord Lulin will be able to explode into God-level strength. Now Lu Shu is absolutely no match. But if he is not in Lulin, but in a battle begins in the small world in the God's domain, Lord Lulin's strength is just that of an ordinary saint. In other words, Lu Shu has no chance of winning. Sword Soul, hold him back first. Lu Shu immediately ordered. Yes, Sword Master. Sword Soul replied sonorously and forcefully. His eyes were fixed on Lord Lulin. The stronger the enemy's strength, the higher the fighting spirit erupted by the Sword Soul. The sword spirit of Ling Yun was vaguely similar to Lulin's. The driving of the lords fighting against each other. Humph, he's just a half-saint. Do you also want to use your mortal power to fight against the divine realm? Seeing Lu Shu's actions, Lord Lulin let out a burst of disdainful laughter. In his eyes, even Lu Shu himself couldn't defeat him. Not to mention that the one who came to fight was just a sword spirit. Die! Lord Lulin instantly burst out with a burst of terrifying energy. He swept away with his palm, and the surrounding void shook. This is still in the God's realm. If he were still in Lulin or the Grey realm, an attack of this level could be easily shattered endless void. Both its power and momentum will skyrocket. Hey! The Sword Soul shouted loudly. Although the Shota's face looked as childish as a child, the sword intention displayed was anything but simple. Cut out with one sword. Open the sky with one sword. With the powerful properties of the Zuxian sword. After fighting for several rounds, Lord Lulin did not gain any upper hand. This is impossible. Lord Lulin took a few steps back and looked at the Sword Soul. The original relaxed expression was gone. He couldn't understand why he, a true saint-level powerhouse, was fighting against the Sword Soul condensed in a semi-sanctuary. Getting up is so difficult. In this case, I will let you see the true strength of a saint-level powerhouse. Lord Lulin laughed ferociously, and the next second, a forbidden aura suddenly erupted from his body. Blades are prohibited here. A voice as indifferent as the way of heaven echoed here. This is the domain law understood by the saint-level powerhouse. It can formulate the rules of this place. By communicating with Lulin behind him, Lord Lulin released the domain with all his strength. The next second, the Zuxian sword in Sword Soul's hand fell to the ground with a clang, making a crisp sound. Good wait. The face of the Sword Soul changed. At this moment, the feeling of holding the Zuxian sword in his hand is like an ordinary person lifting a 10,000 iron chain. Even if he uses all his strength, he still can't shake the mountain. Field. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. Lord Lulin sneered. Now, the rule here has been set that you can't use the blade. Let's see what else you can do. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure turned into an afterimage again, and instantly appeared behind Lu Shu. Sword Master, please be careful. The Sword Soul quickly shouted and reminded. But after the rules prohibiting blades were arranged here, he could not lift the sword, and therefore lost the ability to fight against Lord Lulin. At this moment, Lu Shu suddenly appeared next to him. Grey whirlpools. The realm of reincarnation. At this moment, Lu Shu also expanded his domain. The 7 avenue patterns were displayed at the same time. All the power came out and attacked Lord Lulin. It's actually a field. Lord Lulin's pupils shrank instantly. Isn't this an ability that only saints have? Why can a half-saint have the ability in the field? Moreover, those 7 Deo patterns each display the attributes of the Deo, although they have not yet formed a complete domain. But when these extreme attributes are combined, the killing power is extremely powerful, and it sweeps towards Lord Lilin with overwhelming force. Lord Lilin was forced to take a few steps back. At this moment, the sword the soul came to the realm of reincarnation summoned by Lu Shu and said in a deep voice, "Here comes the sword." The next second, the Zuxian sword turned into a stream of light and appeared in the hand of the sword soul. It is also in the realm. The rules set by Lord Lilin are invalid for Lu Shu. The collision between realms is in the same realm. Level. No one has an overwhelming advantage over anyone anymore. Lord Lilin's face turned gloomy. Just fighting against a field already made him feel extremely difficult. Now, he also let Sword Soul pick up the sword, etc. Lord Lilin looked at the Zuxian sword and suddenly thought of something. Could it be that sword?